Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in America. It is what it is, and this is Mr. Jimmy J coming live from the ATR platform to discuss the things that we need to be talking about in this society, this world, this universe. And I am the one and only Mr. Jimmy J. The Jimmy J is coming to talk to you about it is what it is. It is going to be a discussion today that we all need to hear, we all need to know, and we all need to understand. And what I say is, I don't say understand, we need to overstand, meaning understand we may not give it all credit, but if we overstand it, then guess what? We have over acknowledged the things that we need to acknowledge in our society. And so today, I did not have a prescript agenda today because I've kind of gotten off cusp as far as with my understanding. This was a study week for me. And in my parallel of studying, I learned a lot of things in reference to life itself. One thing I really want to focus on today, this next hour that we have to discuss and talk about. Hey, how you doing there? The one thing I really wanted to talk about and discuss today was dealing with the parallels in the African American communities, but I want to touch it into a different perspective. You see, throughout society, throughout our world, throughout our programming, African Americans have been pushed at the bottom of the totem poles, going all the way back to when we were released from slavery through a bargaining chip that the American country needed to extend extra troops to do what they needed to do. And we're not going to talk about that point today. But that bargaining chip has gotten us to where we at in American society. And so what I like to do and what I like to always talk about is how we need to, as African Americans, wake up and understand what our role has been, what our role can be, and what factors are holding us back. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about, and I know I got a special guest, my first guest coming on this show in about 20, 25 minutes. You know him. He's parallel to a lot of this discussion that I really want to get into. And as I gather my thoughts, I'm one of those people who is an artist who learns culture, learns things, so therefore I can share whatever I learn with other people out in this world. I'm unselfish in everything I do because you know what? The more I teach other people, the more I share with other people, the better it is for our society. But I really want us to understand that in our role as Americans in this country, we were never meant to be equals. We were always meant to be a commodity or slavery or slave or some kind of subsidiary to what we call it, what controls and owns what goes on in society. And so with that being said, I wanted to express, I'm trying to make sure I ease this conversation because it's very important that we touch this subject really, really, really in cohesiveness and modern flow. And as my audience grows, is very important for us to work together in our community, not separate, not apart, but understanding how we play a part in what we do. And so with that being said, last Friday, we talked about voting and we talked about the importance of voting. We talked about why the absentee ballot and what we needed to do with the absentee ballot. We talked about 4 or 5 of the subjects the week before that in reference to African Americans. And what I really want to concentrate on is how we can be pivotal in moving the narrative forward for our younger people who come after us. And what I mean by that is clear. It is super, super clear. How we become pivotal is this. What we need to do is, rather than sitting back, complaining about issues in our community, rather than sitting back, accepting what comes before us in our community, rather than sitting back and allowing people who bamboozle, run amok, let us spray, all those other good things, what we should be doing collectively speaking is putting our dollars together and start moving our narrative forward economically speaking. If we're depending on one or two people to economically drive our forces within our community, we're going to always fall prey. So it's time out for those people who come to our community and say, hey, James, if you do this for me, I will give you $100. Let me show y'all what a $100 bill look like. That's what a $100 bill look like. You got people in our community that are taking less than this to sell us out, y'all. Some people, it may take $200. And all I got is $200 bill, $200. But some of us in our community have sold us out for $200, $300, $400, $500. They have sold the community out like it's an auction block, saying that, hey, we don't really need we don't need you. We need you as a commodity in this world. And so until we're willing to stop selling out, stop accepting bribes, stop accepting all those other things that go on, and really step up to the hardcore truth of what it is to be an American. And I want to be clear. We were never meant to be equals in this country. We only became equals because they had to set us free. Because at the time, you had to do what you had to do to get what you had to get. And so I know I sound like I'm doing a lot of gibberish talk, and I know I sound like I'm not getting together, because you know what? I'm trying to make sure all those haters who jump on the show don't hang around for when the meat and the potatoes come to what we really want to talk about today. And so I'm making it sound like that because it's a covert operation where we don't want untalented people to come on and take away the talented people in our community. Too far long, we have not been what we should be to society. And what that is at one point in time, we knew how to create our own communities. We knew how to create properties and make our job easier, our life easier, make the ways easier. But somewhere down the line, we lost touch with that nature. And we allowed ourselves to become the second, the third, and now we're the fourth class citizens in this United States of America. And so when we get into these conversations that we want to have tonight, we're not allowed to do what we got to do because it is what it is. And Jimmy J is touched in between his words, because today I'm touched because I took the time to do something I don't normally do. What I did was I visited a community today. I worked with somebody else today. And I got you, Mike Kelly. I worked with somebody else today. And I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I worked with a family member who doesn't always have everything we all have. Doesn't have the car, doesn't have the house, don't have all the necessities or the dreams or the visions we all have. Doesn't really play with the healthcare system. Doesn't do all that stuff that we would normally call and cherish. Well, I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I had a family member call out and reach out and say, hey, man, I really would like to go ahead and get that COVID-19 shot, because I see now how important it is. But, you know, the last couple of months, I haven't had a ride. I haven't been able to get out there and do what I need to do as far as getting that stuff is concerned. So I said, yeah, cuz I'll come by, scoop you up, take you to go get that COVID shot. And as he got in my car and we had discussions, you know, I realized that there's a lot of things in society that I take for granted. I take for granted that he doesn't get to see, because he doesn't explore as I explore, doesn't have the wealth or the ability to be able to be in society the way I have to be in society. And so when I took him to the doctor, he didn't realize that there was that there was a healthcare facility, a FQHC, federally qualified healthcare center, that he can actually go to, and is supplemented by federal government or supplemented by local government. And so he didn't understand that these things exist. And so he's thinking in fear of going to a doctor because he has to pay this copay or he has to pay this doctor bill or anything like that. Because we have FQHCs available for him, and we have 2 in Chatham County, and there are tons of them across the United States of America, because federal government's going to say, hey, we're not going to fail as far as making sure people are healthy. It's not going to be on our fault. It's going to be on your fault because you don't show up to the FQHC. But because he didn't know this thing existed, he had been missing out all the time. So now He goes there, gets a COVID shot. We're all good and dandy. He doesn't have COVID. He doesn't, the temperature signs and everything like that are clear cut and everything is all good. So I take him to FQHC. When we go there, we sign him up for a doctor's appointment. He has a doctor's appointment just like a normal person. He has a dentist appointment just like a normal person. And he's not paying all the high rates of insurance co-pays and all the other stuff like that because society, guess what? Government has already structured these things, not because of us, but because there are poor people in all facets of races out there. And they have to make sure they have to have some kind of fall through to catch everybody in America to make sure we have a healthy society. And so now he has touched one of the strongest points in the African-American community that hinder us more than anything else. He has the opportunity to get a better set of health care. Now, I'm not saying it's the greatest health care in the world, but it's a good health care system that he's going to be able to get into. And see, in America, guess what? African Americans, we fail a lot of times because guess what? We're not tied into the structures of the system. We don't go to the health system because we're scared of it. We're scared that, from past practices, how healthcare practitioners have prevented us from being able to go into these structures because you know what? We've been experimented on as African Americans. We have been tortured as African Americans. So the healthcare system, we're kind of scared and leery of unless we're dying and sometimes bleeding to death before we actually go into a healthcare system. And partially because we're scared of the healthcare system. The other part is we scared of the debt that healthcare has put the facade above our head to do. And so he got his health care all together thus far. Now it's upon him to continue to go to the system every 6 months, every quarter. But it's upon me as a family member to make sure that at least the first 3 or 4 times he does it. Because if I'm there with a structure to make sure he does it, then we become a successful community. And so it's ever so important that I be his support system and making sure when he needs paperwork filled out, I help fill it out. When he needs help getting there, I drive them. I take them. These are the things that we should be doing in our community to make our system, our people even better than what we are. And so I spoke of healthcare. The next piece is the economic system. The economic system is built like this. The young people have exploited something that I think that we have still not taken advantage of. And that is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency has made it so easy for young people to take $50 and turn it into $500. It's so easy that now the federal government is trying everything it can to regulate it and try to make sure they get a piece of it before it explodes and makes too many millionaires out of young people. And so my thing is, I love how when we see problems, when we see economic downfalls and trends that don't work for us in our society, I love how the next generation that comes after us, we have called them names, we have called them out of place, we've called them everything but a child of God. But guess what they have done? They have stepped forward and recreated a financial system, the stock market we're talking about, and retrofitted it with their own version of it. They don't have the time limits of the 9 o'clock in the morning bell to the 4 o'clock in the afternoon closing time. They don't have that because cryptocurrency is traded at any time, any place. And let me go ahead and put this disclosure out there. ATR nor myself are endorsing or encouraging you to jump in the cryptocurrency market, but we want you to understand this is something worthwhile studying and learning that can actually help you in your financial situation. And so what I'm trying to put out there, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. But what we have to do is we have to stop thinking how we thought 20 years ago, and we have to start thinking how we should be moving forward. My cousin said it best today. He's 53 years old, but if you ask him how old he is, he says, yeah, I'm 53, but 53 is the new 35. And we have to start thinking like that, because when we think that we are 35 years old, we will act, we will build, and we will be of that age. But if we think like we 65 or 85 and we only 53, then we're going to be like what we profess to be. And so before I bring my guest on, because I know I got 15 minutes before I bring him on, it's very important for me to go to a subject me and him talked about today while we was getting on today. I said, you know what, man, I really don't have much to talk about. I really don't have a real hardcore subject to talk about. It's going to sound like I'm rambling today because I just got so much unfocusedness going on in my mind. And so with that being said, I said, man, I just wish when I look outside the window, I just wish black people would just wake up and just come together and take over whatever part of society belongs to them. Whether it becomes a housing market, whether it becomes a service industry, whatever belongs to them, take it and run with it. And so what's happening in America, across the United States of America, black people are waking up in communities that are predominantly African American. And guess what they're doing? They're stepping up to run for public office. They're stepping up to take the challenges on in those communities. They're stepping up because they're tired of getting $2 in a community. They look around and everybody is African American. They're tired. And what they're doing is they're starting to step up. But as they step up, there are some Jim Crow laws still out there, y'all. There's some antiquated laws still out there, y'all. There's some laws out there that guess what? You have two different entities that govern over a particular body, and both of them have difference of opinions, and we can't get a clear-cut answer because guess what? Both of them serve the cause, and guess what society is doing? Whichever cause is holding or suppressing African Americans, that's the cause the privileged society is going with. And because of this, we are losing opportunities to get into mayorships, to get into county seats, to get into state seats, and even federal seats. Because you know what? They are using every tactic in this world to suppress and keep minorities from becoming great in this society. And so what you have is communities out there that have populations of 60% African American. And they have been controlled and ran by majority white males in most cases. Now, y'all gonna say, well, here you go. That dang Jay. That dang Jimmy J. He sound like a racist. He sound like he is all mad because we've been running this community. They can run anytime they want, and they just don't want to run. That's bullcrap. Because you know what? There are African Americans who want to step forward and run. And rather than suppress them, whatever suppressionary tactics you got, whether it be the judicial system, whether you own the clerk, or whether you own the system of board of elections or anything like that, rather than suppress them, why aren't we doing what we can to make the laws cohesive so you don't have a state constitution saying one thing, a board of elections saying another thing, when somebody has served the time as what they have to do due diligence for? You know, it's time out. We need to step forward. We need to have our own press. We want to have our own news and all that stuff. See, they don't have to say that because they own the press. They own the news. And my thing is, if they're not willing to tell both sides of the story in a fair and an appropriate manner, then we need to create our own narratives where we can get our own fair and appropriate manner put out there. Uh-oh, there you go again. There go that Jimmy J. He sound like a racist. All he wants to do is make sure black people do this. No, that ain't where I'm going at. What I'm saying is, if we want our stories put out there, we have to create the narrative to get our stories out there. And what I mean by we, there are three sides to a story. His side, and the truth. And a lot of time, his side has always been given. This side is not being given. And so we're so far from the truth because the truth becomes one-sided. And so if we really want to stick to the game, we really want to make things happen in our community, we have to have media that talks for us. It's time out to be cutting my TV on. And when I cut my TV on, what I see, there go another black guy who committed a crime. But then when I look at the narrative of what's really going on in the county, we don't always talk about all the crimes that are attributed to what's going on in the white community. And a lot of that has to do, guess what? They understand how the narrative works. They understand how everything works. And before you call me a racist, talk about the redlining, talk about the gerrymandering, talk about all the other practices that have been suppressed and keeping African Americans from having an equal point in the law, in the rules, and in this land we call America. But you know what? You, because you control the narrative, hold me back from telling you the truth. You will dispel it. You will even send people of the same color as me to tell me that I'm telling the untruth. He is crazy. He is racist. He is doing this. He is doing that. No, it's not about that, y'all. It's about making sure the truth hits the table. And sometimes you need to get a narrator who's going to be fair and impartial, or even a narrator who comes from that side of the conversation. If we're not willing to go ahead and tell the truth, or tell the truth of what needs to happen, then we need to just stop telling them what it is. And a lot of these TV stations, a lot of newspapers across America, they were the main ones back in slavery time that was depressing and putting out the negative narratives of the black man hanging from the tree and putting the intimidation mark on African Americans. This is why you don't need to step out of line. We have tons of these newspapers across America where it was talking about the young man whistled at the girl, that's why he got hung. And y'all, I'm not telling no lies. If you want to read books, White Fragility, The Color of Law, all these books talk about, they have a documentary they were talking about today on TV where the black family went from community and community and community in Chicago. A documentary that happened 40 years ago. Community in Chicago. And they were told you could not buy this house simply because you were black. Wasn't the fact that you didn't have the same money. Simply because you were black. You couldn't buy the property in that community. And then now you fast forward 40 years later. If they were given the opportunity to buy that house in that community, they would be sitting on millions of dollars. And so when we talk about how suppressionary laws and rules and regulations have hurt African Americans, we talk about how that has hurt and stifled black wealth in our community. And so with that being said, I want to bring my guest on. He got 2 more minutes. I see him getting ready in the back room to make sure that he's going to talk about some issues. And I told him today I really want to have a candid conversation. I know he does a lot of work on his own, but this is about him. This is about building his platform, because guess what? People have come for him, and people have started to come for me because I protect him and I talk up for him. But you know what? If we're not willing to defend our own body of people, if we're not willing to stand in the gate for our own body of people, even when they are wrong or right, when we're not willing to challenge the system, when it's suppressed, we're going to keep falling prey to the system. And so what I do is I think what he's been doing is remarkable, because guess what? A lot of people are saying y'all are crazy for pushing this issue. But you know what? Crazy is testing the limits of society to fix the problems that exist before we got here. And so if we're not willing to test the limits, then we're allowing society to win over and over and over and over again. So I got 30 seconds before I'm going to bring my guest on the show. Because you know what? It's really his show. I'm just a guest on his platform. And so when he comes before you, he's going to break down some key things that we need to be discussing. And I'm going to ask those questions because you know what? It is what it is. And the only way we're going to change the society is if we're willing to challenge what things need to come. And I'm going to ask him to remind me of what we talked about so we can make sure that platform. So that's why I'm giving him an extra 5 minutes, because I need him to challenge me. And so in 3, 2, 1, I want to introduce to some my good friend, my big brother, Savannah. Step forward. Here's Mr. Julius Hall, y'all. And I'm going to fix my camera so we can be the same height. I'm going to push it back. And so we the same height. Y'all see how I adjust that? Hey, what's up, big bro? How you doing, man?
What's going on, my brother?
All right. So you told me you wanted me to discuss some stuff that me and you had on the phone. And you know, I'm 46 years old and I'm getting older in life. And I know you got a better memory being 35 years old than I do. And so basically, let's just talk about your story, man. I really want to embrace what's going on with you and what's tied to your story, man.
Well, my story is one of retribution, one of rehabilitation, one of giving back. That's what I have thrived to do since I returned home. And so, with that being said, I did everything that I'm supposed to do. I've been involved in my community, civically and politically. And so I thought I'd offer myself up for service because I did this for a living, getting people in office. And then you and I talk so much, you say, well, why don't you just run?
Yep.
So, I say, well, I never thought about me running. I always helping somebody else run. So, after careful consideration and looking at the landscape, I thought the best place to start was at home. And that's where I started. I live in Port Wentworth, so I figured I'd run for mayor of Port Wentworth.
Hold tight, hold tight. You say you live in Mayberry?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
is
My fault,
Mayberry
man. My
too.
fault. My fault.
Mayberry RFD. Because if you look at the last city council meeting and the one from August, you'll say, "What the hell is going on out there?" It is a
Boy,
corrupt
boy,
city.
boy,
It
boy.
is a corrupt city government, and I'm not afraid to say that. They can take it up with me if they think that they're not. They are. They do what they want to do, and it needs to be an investigation out here, really. They
Yeah.
want to worry about me from 30 years ago, but I'm worrying about them from 30 days ago. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the problem that we're facing here in Port Wentworth. But they somebody put a challenge into my qualification to run because, like I said, in January I'll be home 9 years. They want me to wait till I'm home 10 years before I'm eligible to participate in the political process. So
And before you go any further, let's go ahead and break this conversation down because you know what? It's crazy because when I watched it today, there's like one group says one thing, another group says another thing, but both of them are constituted by law. And so, talk about the discrepancy there, man, because we have a serious discrepancy with the government structure. Because which one do we pay attention to?
that's exactly right. What I have here is an order. This order gave me all my rights back.
Mm-hmm.
That order gave me all of my rights back immediately. Really, all I had to wait was 2 years. Everybody's talking about this 10-year wait that's in the Constitution. But this is a constitutional entity that has a right to bypass the 10 years. So really, all I have to wait is 2 years to apply. I waited 3 years and I applied in 16. I waited another 2 years because after they turned me down in 16, I got to wait 2 more years. Every time they turn you down, you got to wait 2 more years.
Okay.
I waited till 18 and I applied again. They turned me down again. I waited until 20, late September 2020, and they finally gave this to me. They restored all my rights after 8 years of me waiting. After
And so,
eight
and,
years.
and so they restored your rights, but what entity are saying is not restoring your rights?
Well, the elections board is reading the law to say that I still must wait those 10 years. When we're saying that no, I shouldn't have to wait them because I have the paperwork saying that
I agree.
those 10 years are moot now. So if those 10 years are moot, then I have a right to serve now. I have a right to run and hold public office. And if you read the document, and the document is available to anybody that wants to see the document is clear. It is an order. When I first got this, I called and I asked, what power it has. And the lady at the Parole and Pardons and Parole Board, she told me, she said, Mr. Hall, no, she said, baby, because she sounded like an older lady. She said, baby, those that order you got is all you need. She said it cannot be ignored or disobeyed. So I said, okay. I said, you sure? She said that's all you need. She said, just show it to anybody that questions you. I said, okay. So that's all I need. That was it. They restored all my rights, and on anything that I signed, I made sure that it was a clause in there that said whether I had these, or I wouldn't have signed it, or I would have indicated that I did if this wasn't in there. So not only that, Jay, one of the things it gives you all the orders. And I don't want to take up too much of your show.
Oh, no, 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 no. This is you. That's why I started 5 minutes early because I want you to take as much time as possible,
Okay.
brother.
and I want people to get a copy of this. I wish I had put it on the on here so that people can see it. But I did a breakdown on the Rabble the other night, and then I cut that and edited and put a 17-minute synopsis of what this paper means
Okay.
and the wording, because words have meaning, and the meaning of this is powerful. It has the power and authority to give me my rights back immediately. Didn't tell me I had to wait 10 years. If that was so, they would have said this. One thing that it did, it sent this here to the county superior court for where I live, Chatham County. It's in their file without me even knowing it, without anything. I mean, I know because they said they sent it there. They sent me a copy and sent the county superior clerk a copy. So she has a copy for anybody that questions whether I can serve on the jury. She has a copy saying that I can. Anybody that questions to see whether I can be a notary public, she has the paperwork that says I can. This paperwork gave me those two rights, plus the right to run for any civil and political office, run and hold civil and political office. It restored all my rights. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a butthole. I'm not trying to circumvent anything. I'm only letting the law apply to me because I am a citizen of Georgia. So if I'm a citizen of Georgia, then the Constitution should not work against me. The Constitution should work for me. And what we're arguing is just a plain and simple position. And our position is this order has power and authority, and it should be looked at with power and authority to do exactly what it said. I'm going to read it real quick. It said, whereas having investigated the facts, they investigated the facts. So they knew how long I was home. They gave me this in knowing how long I was home because it didn't matter how long I was home, because they gave me this knowing that it was a 10-year stipulation, but it would become moot once they issued this to me. I was granted this, what we call a pardon or a partial pardon, but we call it restoration of rights. It does, this is from the Pardons and Parole Board. This ain't from this isn't from the Restoration of Rights Board. This is from the Pardons and Parole Board. I don't need parole, I need pardon. And this is what these people do. They gave me a partial pardon, which is the restoration of my rights. It said, which investigation has established to the satisfaction of the board. I satisfied them. And has served that each sentence has expired. All my sentence has expired. Everything, even the 10-year wait, has expired. Everything. Then it goes on the quote, where they have the power in the Constitution to do what they did by granting me this. Pursuant to Article 4, Section 2, Paragraph 2A of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, it is hereby ordered, not recommended, Jay.
I hear you.
Ordered that the civil and political rights to serve on a jury, run for and hold public office, and serve as a notary public, lost as a result of the above stated convictions, are hereby restored. Not to wait. It is restored immediately. They didn't put in here that he got 2 more years that he got to wait, or he got 5 more years that he got to wait. They said restored. Why would they give me this? They could have gave me something saying it's restored at the end of some term. It could have said that, it could have gave me a date certain. It didn't, because the date certain was already in their mind. And it is cloudy, like I said, because one thing in the Constitution says one thing, and this gives me the right, by them granting me this, with something else.
But the problem I got, and I know you're gonna continue, but the problem I got is, why allow it to be cloudy? That's my issue. If
Right.
you know it's a discrepancy between the two groups need to get together and form. And if judges are ruling on this stuff to be cloudy, we need to get them judges together and say, hey, the judge whatever these different constitutional positions are, and say, look here, man, y'all have too much cloudiness here. And the only people being affected by this cloudiness is those people who cannot go out there and get those powerful attorneys, have those backdoor conversations, or tied to the privileged society who vacates and pass by these laws. Those people who cannot afford it are held by these rules, but those people who are part of the privileged society are not.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Most people say, well, you shouldn't have did the crime. Well, it is what it is. That's the show we on.
That's the name of the show.
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
We're past that stage. We're at a stage for correction now. We're at a stage of a recommitment to to society on a level where I have all my rights. It did give me one restriction, Jay, one restriction, and had the 10-year wait been a problem, it would have been a restriction that they would have said this in this order.
Correct.
And that's my argument. This is a plain piece of paper that has granted me everything that I was asking for, except for one thing, and that thing was excluding the right to receive, possess, or transport in commerce a firearm. That telling me that I cannot carry a firearm, but each and all are hereby restored. Every other right is restored. Remember that word again, restored. You don't restore something and then say, well, you got to wait a few minutes before you really are restored. You gave it all to me at one time. So and like I said, the most powerful thing was they sent it to the Superior Court clerk without my knowledge. I mean, without me having to ask them to. They wanted this to become effective now. If they would have, if it wasn't effective now, then they shouldn't have sent it to the Superior Court clerk. What did you send it to them for? There's no reason for you to send it to them if it wasn't effective immediately. And it's a simple argument. But some people have their minds closed. Some people hate. Some people don't want to see change that they know I'm going to bring, because they couldn't win in Port Wentworth. They couldn't win because I've sold the whole community up. Nobody even wants to talk to them. So that is where we're at with this. Hopefully, we'll get the judge. We got Judge Lisa Colbert. Hopefully, everything I've heard about is that she studies and she gives great opinions. My only problem is I don't like to make it anything about race. I know that some people will. But sometimes we got to use common sense and common purpose, Jay, instead of looking at what a law says that is draconian. We have a bunch of draconian laws but being that they'll tell you that don't matter, it's a law. Okay, that's true. But here we have a draconian law, and here we have something to fix it. So you're telling me that law must still apply to me when the fix can't, when the fix is issued by a constitutionally empowered board. No, you can't do that to me. You're violating my constitutional rights. And this is a contract. This is a contract. This contract must be obeyed and not be ignored. And so you're telling me that this constitutional board gave me a contract that is no good, is meaningless. If it's no good and it's meaningless, then why they even exist? Everything that they've given out before is no good then. So that's our argument, and we'll be before whatever court that we have to go to get it straightened. And my main issue right now is that we had a TRO, a temporary restraining order, trying to make sure that my name's still on the ballot, which they took off today. They took it off, and they took it off last week, but they had a chance to put it back on. Had the judge ruled today. So we're waiting on the judge to rule so we can see whether it gets put back, because certain things come into play. Should I win and my name is not on the ballot, they have to fix it. And it will cost and incur funds to be taken out of the Chatham County coffers. So we don't want any money to be taken out of the Chatham County coffers. So all they have to do is leave my name on the ballot. If I don't, if it's found later on that I'm disqualified before the election, then I don't run. I mean I don't win. The person can win with one vote, and they win. And
And and I think the biggest thing what we have to discuss when we have these conversations is why is it so important to keep Julius Hall off the ballot? It's
yeah,
so important because you know what? Here goes an opportunity to effectuate change and flip a government structure like we joking, we play and we talk about Mayberry, but it really is Mayberry.
correct.
It is really Mayberry. They still have the police cop. He sits in the middle of the main strip coming up 80. That is 80,
21.
right? 21. The main strip on 21. And he might as well just not even carry a gun because all he's doing is highway patrolling though. And they got the big old truck pickup on 95, stopping traffic on 95. It's the speed trap. Everybody knows about Port Wentworth
They
being
had
the speed
six
trap.
cars yesterday, Dre. 6 police cars stopping everybody on 21. I'd already told them I'm stopping that. I promise you, I'm stopping that.
And they're sitting with $13 million in the bank. Why are we out here? I'm sorry,
$37.5 million.
$37.5 million in the bank. It's not a money issue. And my thing is, guess what? Maybe we need to do an investigation and see what the racial makeup of all these people that are being pulled over and getting these tickets in Port Wentworth. Because
Go every Tuesday.
We might be blindsided.
Go every Tuesday to the courthouse and you'll see at 8:30 in the morning and 1 o'clock. Every Tuesday you'll see that the lines is about 90% black.
And so there it is, man.
It's a speed trap, and I'm getting rid of it. You didn't have to worry about that. I am. The people just need to. One other thing that you would think when you look at this and what they're trying to do here in Port Wentworth is suppress the voters' vote. They're trying to suppress the citizens' vote. Because if I have won over the city with what I say I'm going to do, and these people want me to serve them because I want to bring on a new type of thinking and a new vision to the city hall and to the city, and they don't have a choice to choose me, then you're suppressing their votes, especially on a technicality like this. Somebody said Adam Van Brimmer from the Savannah Morning News wrote an article saying that I found a loophole and that I'm going to bring national attention to the city of Port Wentworth and that I'm making the state look bad because I'm bringing national attention to the state of Port Wentworth. See, that's because he's thinking inside the box again. Whatever I do can't do anything but make things better for Port Wentworth. Port Wentworth is already a country bumpkin ran city by people who have no idea of what the hell they're doing. You can look at any city council meeting and tell that there's no professionalism. They call each other by their first name. Jimmy, come do this here. Shanta, go do this right here. The only one get to call something is the mayor because they don't know his first name, probably Gary. So they call it. And I was going back to if I'm disqualified, he can win with one vote, and that'll probably be his wife voting for him because he's probably voting for me because he knows I'm the better candidate.
Oh wow.
So he'll get that one vote from just his wife. And probably Jody Hawks. He probably get 2 votes.
It's gonna be Jody Hawks.
So his wife not even. His wife. His wife will vote for him, and he's voting for me. I already know that because he knows I'm the better candidate. But we have a problem, and we're trying to make sure we get some clarification before anybody else gets caught up in this trap. Because I didn't go looking for this. I thought that I was clear. I had my paperwork. I did everything in good faith. So this is where we are. And
the paperwork, because you showed me early on the paperwork, and the paperwork clearly stated that the only restriction you had was the carrying the gun. That was it.
Correct.
It didn't have any others. And so my thing is, I'm gonna tell you straight up, just like this, to all those people in Port Wentworth, if this don't go the way it's supposed to be, if you can beat Julius in the gunfight on November 2nd, then that's cool. But if you have to cheat to win, you have become the people's enemy. And I will tell you this, if becoming the people's enemy, we coming for Mayberry. Because we're going to turn Mayberry out. And we want you to know, this ain't the only plan we got. We got plenty plans out there.
That's
And
correct.
so while you putting all your eggs in one basket, just keep in mind, we got other baskets out there with eggs. And so, I like I told you before, I am extremely proud of you for stepping forward, big bro, because my thing is, I go around, you hear my mouth say this 1,000 times and before. I'm tired of people complaining about their community.
And not
I'm
running.
tired of people
Yep.
complaining about their elected leaders. I'm tired of, if you can complain about it, if you can't run, find somebody else to run. But don't come to me complaining about it. And so with you stepping forward and challenging the system, and basically you just showed another loophole that they're trying to do to keep people from getting into public office. And we're going to win on that loophole one way or another. And they
That's
better
correct.
hope that it works well for them, because you, my friend, are a lot more voices than I am. I'm a lot more strategic, and you don't want me to come out of my strategic ways to fix the system, because it's not going to be right for those people who are cheating the system. And this same Jody Hawk, is that the same Jody Hawk I read a couple of weeks ago, that got a contract from this same mayor from Mayberry?
Same Jody Hawks. They got a
So he got a
500
contract, right?
to be a 500 is roughly somewhere between $400 to $500,000
Okay.
worth of motel tax, motel tax.
To do what for Mayberry?
Be the Chamber of Commerce.
So
And
so is
he
Gary
stepped
going?
down, and
Okay.
so with him stepping down from it, so that it could look like it was clean. It's not clean because his name's still all over it. They still awarded it to the company that he started. Okay, he stepped down to attack me. So when he get the contract, it will look like they are rewarding him, which they are rewarding his company. But let's just take it from there.
Okay.
The people that he left in charge have no experience ever in running a chamber. Nothing to do with the tourism industry
So
ever
you tell
in
me
their life.
$500,000 to somebody that ain't never ran nothing. They don't even know how to open a Cracker Jack box. That's what you're
No,
saying.
no, nothing. And if you go back and listen to the city council meeting from 2 meetings ago, I believe it was August or July, I believe, you'll see where Councilman Mark Stevens questioned that city, that entity, that business, and he broke them down like a Kmart deck chair. He made them admit that they had no experience. They only have an address to operate out of. And you giving somebody $500,000 contract, they don't even have a business location because the only address was out of house, and the HOA say you can't run a business out of the house.
So
Where
all
are we
these people,
going at then?
so all these people who voted this in, are they on the ballot as well?
3 of the 4 are.
So we do they have opposition?
Yes, and we're going to win every single
Okay.
seat. And if
All right.
I'm on, well, it's all 4 of them on. And if I am on the ballot, which we're praying God that I am, then we'll win all 4 seats, and that's a guarantee. They cannot beat us out here. We've done too much work. We've talked to too many people. I have a speaking engagement tomorrow. The mayor can't even go to because these people don't want to see him.
Well, he's got a speaking engagement too. He's playing the part of Andy Griffith in Mayberry.
Otis.
Oh, he Otis. Oh man,
He's
golly,
Otis. He's probably
man.
checking into the place right now.
So he Otis. Okay. Now that makes a whole lot more sense there.
He looks just like him.
Yeah. Well. My thing is, I'm like I said before, I'm proud, and people, not to take away what's going on with Julius, but this is happening all over the state of Georgia right now. Swainsboro, same conversation. It is changing. Jessup, same conversation. It is changing. Brunswick, same conversation. It is changing. Our sister city in Garden City, same conversation is changing. People are stepping forward and running for office. We could have won in Bloomingdale if we had somebody step forward. We could have won Allenhurst if somebody would step forward. There's so many cities across the state of Georgia in the 1st Congressional District that we could have changed the equity as far as African Americans are concerned in these communities, and we could be putting black leadership who understand the pulse of the community in these communities, and starting to drive the narrative. Yes, it's not about race. He said it, I said it, I agree. But it's about representation. And if the people are at 60%, then the representation of leadership should match the same in majority case census, because it makes no sense to have a city government that is 60% and have all white leadership. Because you know what? If that happens, then guess what? Some kind of suppressionary tactics exist. And I'm not saying we have all white leadership in Port Wentworth, but we damn near close to it. And the only way we're gonna flip it and change it is the 60% that exists has to show up to the polls and vote. Has to show up to the polls. And guess what, Julius? I'm not wishing against you, but if we not in an outrage come January 1st, 2022, if that man gets in office and start holding his ass accountable, then we shame on all of us, brother.
That's correct.
Shame on all of us.
Oh, believe me, he'll be a weak mayor anyway. I don't even know why he won't even get in there. He can't win none of the other seats. It'll be a 5-2 on city council. He won't have a vote to do anything. Somebody might cross over and give him a vote every now and then, but we'll have a strong 4 on most of the issues, and we'll have a majority 5 on most of the issues, and a strong 4 on the important issues.
Yeah, and in 2023, one of them people that voted for that $500,000 to go to Jody, that seat is up too in 23, right?
If I'm up, yeah, all those seats, yeah, the other person was the former mayor, Pig Jones. He'll be up for a re-election in 2 years. But if I'm elected mayor, I'm canceling the contract with the city, with the Tourism Bureau immediately upon the first order that I get in. The first thing I do, I promise you, that contract is dead.
Okay.
First city council meeting, that contract is dead.
And I know me and you
have to return that money to the city.
And I know me and you talked about it. You know how inefficient government is there, where they have maybe one secretary or one person here, one person there. They got one desk. It's a shotgun kind of city council where when you go inside the building, you can look and see the mayor right away. There's no kind of funnel system there, anything like that.
We're understaffed there at the city hall. Is still, like you said, Mayberry. You walk in and you walk right into the mayor's office. What the hell kind of security? This 2021. These people still think 1957. They got the lobby of the. You ever been in a Cracker Barrel restaurant where they sell everything like a little country store? That's the way that they have City Hall. They got everything on sale in the City Hall when it should be at the tourism bureau.
The bureau.
But they fired the real chamber and tourism bureau, who'd been there for 12 years, who was diversified, doing a great job. They fired them for what? They're too close to the blacks. And being honest about it, they're too close to the blacks, and that's part of the problem. And ain't nothing we can do about it if we don't get effective leadership. I believe that we'll be able to change a whole lot of things. Once we get in, we'll be able to change a whole lot of things, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to change a whole lot of things.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left in this conversation.
You got as long as you want.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to keep it to an hour because my boss man strictly instructed me for repurposing of sharing the show. We want to stick to a quota, and I know that I can go to an hour and a half, but I'm going to stick to that quota because I don't want to make sure my boss man don't get mad at me, because I want to get my paycheck next week when it's time for me to get paid.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I got to multiply this $200 I got in my pocket because I done had this
$200.
I done had these same two $100 bills going on 4 or 5 months. I just ain't had nothing to spend them on. And when you go anywhere, you see them signs that say, well, it's a national change shortage. And so they don't want to get no change. So I'm scared to spend $100. That's the best saving plan in the world right now. Just put a sign in the store saying there's a national change shortage and we cannot give change. And so I gotta be quiet because I don't need my wife hearing me saying I got that, because I mean I have no $100 in my pocket if that happens. So
yeah.
And so, but it is what it is. And in the Candace conversation, I just wanted to make sure we brought a real conversation to the table. That everybody, we talk about it all the time in America, how that's not real, that can't be true, and everything under the sun. But here you go. Here's a real live conversation about a situation happening right here in America. It is what it is. This is happening in America. This ain't happening in Barbados or Jamaica. This is happening right here in America. We still are experiencing privileged systems suppressing and keeping people who have done what they had to do to become upright, standing citizens in our community, and done right to make sure that they can go not just be upstanding, but put themselves in predicaments so they can become role models for the next generation. Because guess what? We all fall short from the glory of what we come from. But sometimes when we fall short, they just like us to fall short and to fall deep into a hole. But in this case, he fell short, but guess what? He climbed out that pitfall. He climbed out the hole, and now he's an upright citizen. He has his own platform. He has his own business, and he's also pushing the pilot to become the next mayor of Port Wentworth. And so when we say this, we can no longer. And guess what? It's sad, Julius, because all the criminals under 45, they getting free passes. But you know what? That's if I start talking about that, we're going to really go into another 30-minute tangent. Because guess what? It is what it is, but it don't have to be what it is. And I ask everybody, if you can, make sure we support people like Brother Julius Hall, because they're taking the time to step out the shadows of a past and try to create a brighter future for tomorrow for our people. And so with that being said, we got a minute and a half. Julius, go ahead and close me out, man.
Well, I just want everybody to pay attention to what's going on. We are in the midst of trying to change the culture, like Jay said. If people step up to the plate, like he asks, and he will ask you to step up to the plate and run. So if people step up to the plate and run, we're going to back you. It's a new type of day now. You got support, so don't be scared, but you got to come out and be involved. Don't wait till every 4 years and come out. Come out and be involved. Get on some of these campaigns, volunteer, so you can see how it is. If you have a desire to serve, contact one of us. Contact one of us. We'll give you the playing field. We'll tell you how the playing field is laid out. We'll help you as much as we can, but we're going to give you that support. And it's a new day, and this is what we're trying to change here, not only in Chatham County, throughout the state of Georgia, the whole first congressional district, if we can. So if you want to, please just contact us, and then we'll tell you what you need to do, volunteering and being involved and engaged. And share this program, share, and we can move on and make things great for everybody.
If I could say one thing, y'all, if you take a pencil and you try to break it, that one pencil right there can be easily broken. But if you take that pack of 12 and you try to break it at one time, it is unbreakable. You know why? Because those 12 standing strong together become a powerful force. And that's what my brother Julius Hall and all our allegiance and our lives and all those people who are with us, that's what we stand for. And I pray to God that you stand with us and not against us. I'm going to tell you now, all those people who've been selling out, going to be called out when it's all said and done. Peace, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.